Such ordinary things make me afraid. Sunshine, sharp shadows on grass, white roses, children with red hair, and the name Harry. Harry. Such an ordinary name.
When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall. Down will come baby cradle.
Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder, presents Beyond Midnight by Michael McCabe.
Harry. Such an ordinary name. Yet the first time Christine mentioned it, I felt a premonition of fear. She was 5 years old, due to start school in 3 months' time. It was a hot, beautiful day, and she was playing alone in the garden as she often did. I saw her lying on her stomach in the grass, picking daisies and making daisy chains with laborious pleasure. The sun burned on her pale red hair and made her skin look very white and lovely. Her big blue eyes were wide with concentration. Suddenly she looked towards the bush of white roses, which cast its shadow over the grass, and smiled.
Yes, I'm Christine.
She rose and walked slowly towards the bush, her plump little legs defenseless and endearing beneath a too short cotton skirt. She was growing fast.
Where's my mummy and daddy? Oh, but they are my mummy and daddy.
Chris, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Well, come indoors now, darling.
Goodbye, I must go now. Goodbye.
Chris? Who are you talking to?
Harry.
And who's Harry?
Harry.
I couldn't get anything else out of her, so I just gave her some cake and milk and read to her until bedtime. As she listened, she stared out at the garden. Once she smiled and waved. It was a relief finally to tuck her up in bed and feel she was safe.
Oh, stop that lark, is it?
What do you mean, Jim?
Well, it's not so rare for only children to have an imaginary companion. I had one myself called Oz. Used to talk to him all the time.
Oh.
Well, some kids talk to their dolls. Chris has never been very keen on dolls. She hasn't any brothers or sisters, so she talks to... what was it? Who did you say?
Harry.
Harry. Well, she hasn't any friends of her own age, so she imagines someone. Harry.
But Jim, why has she picked that particular name?
You know how kids pick things up. I don't know what you're worrying about. Honestly, I don't.
Well, I'm not worrying exactly. It's just that I feel extra responsible for her. More so than if I were her real mother.
Sure, but Chris is all right. Chris is fine. She's a pretty, healthy, intelligent little girl. A credit to you.
And to you.
In fact, a thoroughly nice parent.
Oh, yes. And so modest. Oh, it's silly of me, I know, but... Oh, I just get a bit worried sometimes. I feel better now. You always make me feel better about everything. I felt consoled until the next morning. Again, the sun shone brilliantly on the small, bright lawn and white roses. Christine was sitting on the grass, cross-legged, staring towards the rose bush, smiling.
Hello. I hoped you'd come. Because I like you. How old are you? I'm only 5 and a bit. I'm not a baby. I'm going to school soon, and I'm going to have a new dress. Oh, yes, I did go for a little while. Infant school. But I didn't stay very long because we moved. Daddy had to go somewhere else for his work. And, yes, this time I'm going to start big school properly. And I'll stay there for years and years and years. And I'm going to have a green dress. Do you go to school? Well, what do you do then?
I felt myself going cold as I stood listening to her. Don't be silly, I told myself. Lots of children have an imaginary companion. Just carry on as if nothing were happening. Don't be a fool. But I called Chris in earlier than usual for mid-morning milk.
Can Harry come too?
No.
Goodbye, Harry. I'm sorry you can't come in, but I've got to have my milk. Why can't Harry have some milk?
Who is Harry, darling?
Harry. He's my brother.
But, Chris, you haven't got a brother. Daddy and Mummy have only got one child, one little girl, and that's you. Harry can't be your brother, darling.
Yes, Harry's my brother. He says so.
She drank her milk and emerged with a smeary top lip. And then she grabbed at a plate of biscuits. Well, at least Harry hadn't spoiled her appetite. He's your brother? He says so, does he?
Oh, yes. He's nice. I must have my new dress soon because I want to show him, Mummy. It says green's a nice colour. Oh, I wish Harry could come to my new school with me. He'd be able to look after me. He said he would look after me because he comes very soon.
I'll say one thing for imaginary companions. They help the child with their talking.
With an accent.
Accent?
A Cockney accent. Today, Chris, well, she started speaking to me with a sort of Cockney accent. Just a slight one.
My dearest, every London child gets a slight Cockney accent. It'll be even worse when she gets to school. I mean, the big school, meets all the other kids. Don't worry.
We don't talk Cockney, Jim. Where does she get it from?
June,
Who can she be getting it from except Harry?
The butcher, the baker, the milkman, the coalman, the window cleaner. Want any more?
I suppose not. Oh, it's so silly, but I can't help it. It's just that, well, darling, everything was so nice, so happy until this Harry business.
Do you know what I think? I think you should put your mind at rest.
What?
Take Chris along to see old Dr. Webster tomorrow. Let him have a little talk with her.
Jim, do you think she's ill? In her mind?
Oh, good heavens, no. It's just that you're obviously upset about it. You don't understand. And when we meet something we don't understand, it's as well to take professional advice, that's all. That's what doctors are for. That's what they take a couple of quid from my salary every week for. Go and see Webster.
Yes, I will.
Here, have a cigarette.
Thank you.
It's a fairly unusual case, Mrs. James, but by no means unique. I've had several cases of children's imaginary friends becoming so real to them that their parents get the jitters. Now, Christine's rather a lonely little girl, isn't she?
Oh, she won't be when she goes to school again, but... Well, I suppose she is at the moment, yes. She doesn't know any other children. We were quite new to the neighborhood.
Yes, you moved, haven't you? Well, I think you'll find these fantasies will disappear when she gets to school and meets the other children. At the moment, this friend of hers is a compensation for real children. You see, every child needs company of her own age. If she doesn't get it, well, she invents it. Older people who are lonely, they talk to themselves, but that doesn't mean that they're crazy or anything. It's just that, well, they need somebody to talk to.
Yes.
The child is more practical. Seems silly to talk to oneself, says the child, so it invents another, a real person. No, I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
Oh, that's what my husband says.
I'm sure he does. Still, I'll have a chat with her as you brought her.
Oh, yes.
Leave us alone together,
Yes? Christine, just come here a minute, will you, darling?
Harry's waiting.
Where, Chris?
There. See, Mummy, down there by the rose bush. It's just like our rose bush, isn't it? Do you see him?
There's no one there. Now, Dr. Webster wants to see you now. You remember him, don't you? He gave you sweets when you were getting better with chicken pox.
Hello, Christine. My, you're growing. Shooting up.
She went into Webster's surgery willingly enough. I waited restlessly. She was talking away to the doctor in a way she never talked to me. You see, I knew then that he would be full of reassurances when they came out. But I was afraid, awfully afraid. And the ridiculous thing was, I couldn't put my fear into words.
Harry is waiting by the rose bush. See him?
Nothing wrong with her, whatever. She's just an imaginative little monkey, that's all. A word of advice, Mrs. James. Let her talk about Harry. Let her become accustomed to confiding in you. I gather you've shown some disapproval of this brother of hers, so he doesn't talk much to you about him. Christine? He makes wooden toys, doesn't he, Chris?
Yes, Harry makes wooden toys.
And he can read and write, can't he?
Yes, and swim, and paint, and climb trees. He can do everything.
You see? Sounds quite a wonderful brother to me. He's even got red hair like you, hasn't he?
Harry's got red hair. Redder than mine, too. And he's nearly as tall as Daddy, only thinner. He's as tall as you, Mummy. He's 14.
Don't you worry, Mrs. James. You let her prattle.
Thank you, Doctor.
Goodbye, Chris. Give on up to Harry.
Harry's got red hair. Harry can swim. Harry can light fires. Harry can read and he can write, too. Harry's got red hair. Redder than mine.
Harry, nothing but Harry.
He can swim and fish and paint and run fast and those lovely toys.
I'm sick of Harry.
I'm not going to school without Harry.
Oh, but you're looking forward to school, Chris. You know you
I
are.
won't go without Harry.
He'll feel silly. A great lad of 14 amongst all those little children.
I won't go to school without Harry. I won't.
Chris, I'm sorry, darling. I didn't mean... You see, darling, it's just that... Well, you wouldn't like Harry to be unhappy, would you? Would you? It was still daylight, golden shadows and long strips of sunlight in the garden. Then, almost like a dream, the long, thin, clear-cut shadow of a boy near the white roses. Harry! I thought I saw a glimmer of red among the trees, among the roses, like close red curls on a boy's head. Then, there was nothing. The next day, I started on my secret mission. I took a bus to town and went to the big, gaunt building I hadn't visited for over 5 years. Then Jim and I had gone together. The top floor of this building belonged to the Greythorn Adoption Society.
Mrs. James, how nice to see you again. How's Christine? My goodness, it must be 4 years at least.
Oh, it's more than 5, Miss Cleaver. Well, Chris is very well. Miss Cleaver, I'd better get straight to the point. I know you don't normally tell people about a child's origins, not even to the child's adopters, but I must know who Christine is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. James, but I will...
Please, let me tell you the whole story, and you'll see I'm not just suffering from vulgar curiosity.
Yes, all right then. Please, won't you sit down?
Thanks. Miss Cleaver...
It's very queer. Very queer indeed, Mrs. James. Look, I'm going to break our rule for once. I'm going to tell you in confidence where Christine came from.
Thank you.
She was born in a very poor part of London. There were 4 in the family: father, mother, son, and Christine herself.
Son?
Yes. The parents hadn't really wanted Christine. Family lived in one room at the top of a very old house, which should have been condemned by the sanitary inspector, in my opinion. It was difficult enough when there were only 3 of them. But with a baby as well, life became a nightmare. The mother was a neurotic creature, slatternly, unhappy, too fat. After she had the baby, she took no interest in it. Brother, however, adored the little thing right from the start. He constantly got into trouble for cutting school so that he could look after her. Christine.
Yes?
One morning in the small hours, a woman on the ground floor saw something fall past her window. She heard a thud on the ground outside. She went out to look and found the son of the family there, on the ground. Christine was in his arms. The boy's neck was broken. He was dead. The little girl was blue in the face, but still breathing faintly. The woman worked the household, sent for the police and the doctor, and they went to the top room. They had to break the door down because it was locked and sealed inside. The window was open, but there was an overpowering smell of gas. They found the husband and wife dead in bed. There was a note from the husband. It said, "I can't go on. I'm going to kill them all. It's the only way." The police concluded that he'd sealed up the doors and windows, turned on the gas when his family were asleep, and lain down beside his wife until he drifted into unconsciousness and death. But the son must have woken up. Perhaps he struggled with the door, but couldn't open it. He'd been too weak to shout. All he could do was pluck away the seals from the window, open it, and fling himself out, holding his adored little sister tightly in his arms.
So her brother saved her life and died himself.
Yes. He was a very brave little boy.
Perhaps he thought not so much of saving her as keeping her with him. Oh, dear, that sounds ungenerous. I didn't mean to be, Miss Cleaver. What was his name, the brother?
Oh, I'll have to look that up for you. I'm glad Christine is well, though. I'd be most grateful if you'd count this information as secret between you and me, Mrs. James. As I said, we've never before... the family's name was Jones. The 14-year-old brother was Harold.
What does it all mean? I can't understand.
It's not easy. But I think deep in her unconscious mind, Christine has always remembered Harry, the companion of her babyhood. We don't think of children as having much memory, but there must be images of the past tucked away somewhere in their little heads. Christine doesn't invent this Harry. She remembers him so clearly that she almost brought him back to life again.
May I have the address of the house where they lived, please? The house seemed deserted. It was filthy and derelict. But one thing made me stare and stare. There was a tiny garden. A scatter of bright, uneven grass splashed the bald, brown patches of earth. But the little garden had one strange glory. that none of the other houses in the poor, sad street possessed. A bush of white roses.
What are you doing here?
Oh, I thought the house was empty.
Should be. Been condemned. They can't get me out. Nowhere else to go. Won't go. The others went quickly enough after it happened. No one else wants to come. They say the place is haunted. So it is, but what's the fuss about? Life and death, they're very close. You get to know that when you're old. Alive or dead, what's the difference?
Yes.
I saw him fall past the window.
What?
That's where he fell, among the roses. Oh, he still comes back. I see him. He won't go away till he gets her.
Who were you talking about?
Harry Jones. Oh, nice boy he was. Red hair, very thin. Too determined, though. Always got his own way. Loved the little girl too much, I thought. Died among the roses. Used to sit down there with her for hours. Then he died there. Or do people die? Nobody's got any answers. No one nowhere. For you, the dead who ain't dead and the living who aren't alive.
Yes, I'll go now. Goodbye.
Dead who aren't dead and the living who aren't alive.
I hurried across the bright, hot pavements, and my legs felt heavy and half paralyzed. I lost all sense of time. Then I heard the clock strike 3, and it chilled my blood. At 3 o'clock, I was supposed to be at the school gate, waiting for Christine. Excuse me, I've come for Christine James. I'm her mother. I'm so sorry I'm late. Where is she?
Christine James? Oh, yes, I remember. She's new, with the little red-haired girl. That's all right, Mrs. James. Her brother called for her. How alike they are, aren't they? And so devoted. It's rather sweet.
The futile search continued for months. The papers were full of the strange disappearance of the red-haired child. The teacher described the brother who had called for her. There were stories circulated about kidnapping, baby snatching, child murders. Then the sensation died down. It became just another unsolved mystery in police files. And only 2 people knew what happened. An old, crazed woman living in a derelict house, and myself. Such ordinary things make me afraid. Sunshine, sharp shadows on grass, white roses, children with red hair, and the name Harry. Such an ordinary name.
program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.
Accident. Automobile accident. Over.
It isn't only the ghoul, the vampire, the undead dead, the scream in the night, or similar shafts of fear selected from the quiver of horror that spellbind the listener and fascinate the casual turner-on of a radio switch. In this tale, there is nothing outwardly ghostly. It is a story of unease, and we challenge you to make your radio set silent without listening all the way to Short Circuit.
Desolate.
Yes, Mr. Fassberger. Though, mind you, at this time of year, I mean, when spring comes and the trees are
I
in leaf.
prefer it desolate. Why do you imagine I bought 100 acres of ground on which to build a house?
Yes, of course, Mr. Fassberger.
I want desolation, privacy, and security. I can afford to get what I want. Well, let's take a look at the house.
And the two men, Mason and Fassberger, walked towards the building. The two men walked, each bent unknowingly upon his own individual journey beyond midnight.
The main structure was completed about 3 weeks ago. Since then, the engineers have been installing and testing the electrical circuits. The final tests were only made yesterday.
And the builders?
Oh, they were flown back to the continent immediately. The danger of information leaking out is, well, remote. Shall we go in, Mr. Fassberger? Now, to all intents and purposes, this lock is an ordinary lock with an ordinary key, Mr. Fassberger. Nobody would suspect that the tumblers are actuated by coded magnets in the key and that they, in turn, operate 6 electronic locks, which are built into the door and quite inaccessible. Laminated steel, you see, like the walls and floors. It'd stop an armor-piercing shell.
Good.
Now, switch the lights on. The whole ceiling glows, you see. Not just a globe or collection of globes. Exact to your specification. Naturally, it'll look better with furniture, and in about 9 months' time, when the decorations are completed...
Yes.
The windows are deceptive, aren't they? You'd never imagine there'd be space for steel shutters to glide across. And you see here, the glass is polarized. You can see out, but nobody can see in.
And all the windows are the same?
Exactly. The whole house was built as a precision engineering job. The moment someone tries to tamper with the windows or the outside doors, the whole of the engineering electronic gadgetry comes into play. The house is completely sealed off from the rest of the world.
A steel fortress. Fassberger's fortress. Impenetrable. Impregnable.
The main electricity supply for the whole house comes in here. That black box carries the power supply's fuses. But naturally, it's sealed, and only the company's electricians can open it. But every other room in the house is individually fused, so nothing can go wrong, you see? But now there is an emergency diesel generator in an outhouse at the back. So in the event of a power failure, you can generate your own electricity. We've thought of everything.
I hope so. The place is costing me nearly $250,000. I want perfection.
Oh, you're getting it. Now, if you'd care to go into the next room and watch the window, I'll just show you how rapidly and efficiently the steel shutters slide across. Then afterwards, I'll go outside and pretend to be a burglar.
Very well.
Fassberger stood by the horizontal window and fingered the edge of the steel frame with his podgy fingers. The big diamond ring in its fleshy platinum setting glittered richly in the subdued daylight.
Ready?
Yes.
It happened so suddenly that his eyes were completely deceived. One minute there was a window looking out on bare, bleak countryside. Next instant the window had gone, and in its place was a sheet of blue-gray steel. Curiously, there was an agonizing pain in the middle of his right hand. Even more frightening, the hand suddenly seemed to have become immovably attached to the window frame.
Mason! Mason!
Coming, Mr. Fassberger. Train seems to have happened.
I think it's one of the fuses has blown up.
Open the shutter, man. Can't you see my hands caught in the thing? It's caught my ring. Might have lost my hand if it hadn't been for the diamond.
Oh, dear, yes, I'll go and...
This diamond's harder than steel. Blasted shutter might have chopped my hand off.
I can't open the shutter until I get a new fuse, Mr. Fassberger. It's the fuse.
Oh.
The new fuse is blown too. It's because the shutter's jammed. The drive motor's taking too much current.
No.
It's a virtual short circuit on the power line.
Well, do something about it. Don't just stand there talking blasted technical rubbish.
Can't you take your finger out?
If I could take it out, why do you think... Oh.
It's just unfortunate that shutter is edged with a special alloy that'll cut through anything. If someone tried to smash through the window with a steel bar, the shutter would cut the thing in half. But diamond's too hard. A fraction of an inch either way, and there'd have been no trouble.
A fraction of an inch either way, and I'd have lost my blasted finger.
That wouldn't have blown the fuse. It's the diamonds causing the trouble. The drive motor's come to a standstill. It may even be burning at this moment.
Mason, I don't care.
The fuse is only rated for 5 amps, you see.
Then put in a bigger fuse.
It might work. One could only open the shutter of a fraction of an inch, perhaps.
Oh. Oh.
That'll... No good. That's blown too.
Or try 30 amps or more. Oh.
Stand by. I put a dead short across the fuse. This ought to produce results. The light's gone.
All the lights gone.
I am, Mr. Mason, supremely aware that there is no light.
The company's fuses are blown. This really is a short circuit.
Then telephone the power company. Tell them to send their electricians here immediately. Tell them it's urgent.
That's impossible, Mr. Fassberger. The telephone isn't connected yet.
Well, in that case, you'd better take my car. Drive to the nearest town. Bring back electricians, engineers, fire brigade, anyone you like. But let's have some action. Don't you realize that I'm in dreadful pain? I
can't get out of the house. isn't any power to operate the doors and windows. We're sealed in, Mr. Fassberger.
Then start the diesel engine.
The diesel's outside. Unless I can open a door, I can't reach it.
Tell me, Mason, what do you propose to do? I asked you to build a house that couldn't be broken into. Not one it's impossible to escape from.
I suppose the only thing to do is to try and force open the power company's fuse box. The point is that I haven't got any tools. The fuse box is sealed, and you have to have a special star-shaped screwdriver. All I've got is a pipe scraper and a bunch of keys.
Feel in my right-hand trouser pocket. You will find a key ring with a small gold penknife attached.
Yes, I'll need light, too. It's practically dark here. It'll be completely black back there.
In my coat pocket, there is a gold cigarette lighter. You may use it.
Yes, Right then, I'll do what I can.
Do what you can.
After several hours, when the strip of sky visible through the gap in the shutter was beginning to darken into night, it became obvious that Mason was achieving exactly nothing.
It's no use, Mr. Fassberger. I can't make any impression at all on those screws. Not without the proper tools.
So, what are we going to do?
I don't know. I don't know at all.
I can't stand here all night like this. This ring's almost cutting through the bone of my finger. In fact, my finger feels quite dead already.
Do you suppose...
Suppose what?
Well, it might be possible to cut through the ring. That would release your finger.
But the ring's platinum. You can't cut platinum with gold.
I could try.
Very well. Try.
No good. Perhaps if the diamond could be prized from its setting.
Might be difficult. The diamond alone cost £2,000, and it was made with exceptionally strong claws to hold it. I wouldn't want to risk losing it.
No, of course not.
You can try.
There is one point. There's a danger of dislodging the stone if I succeed in opening the claws.
Danger? What of?
Look, Mr. Fassberger, the house is completely sealed. If I should dislodge the diamond, when I release your finger, the shutter would close and we'd lose even the quarter of an inch we have got. The house would become our tomb.
It's already that, as far as I'm concerned.
But we still have got the gap. Sooner or later we'll be missed and people will come for us.
Huh? What do you mean, sooner or later?
2 days, perhaps 3. There are people who'll miss me.
Nobody will miss me, Mason. I'm a lonely man. Always have been.
In that case, it wouldn't really matter if you were to die here in this house.
No, it really wouldn't matter.
Then what I don't understand is why build the house in the first place? With concealed safe deposits and all those elaborate security precautions.
I've an instinct for certain things, Mason. And I know that the world's on the brink of what will be the worst economic crisis in history. Currency will lose all its value. Gold would be worthwhile investment if one could buy gold. But I've settled for precious stones. I've sunk nearly all I've got into diamonds, natural sapphires, and emeralds. 4 million pounds worth. When the crisis comes, these stones will not lose their value. They will increase. There isn't a bank in the country I would trust. So, I have built my own bank. My fortress.
You're shrewd. Very shrewd. But what are you going to do about your finger?
I'd give 10% of all I have to the man who can solve this predicament.
You mean that? 10%?
5%.
4 million, that's 200,000. Can I rely on your word?
Of course. But I reserve the right to revise my offer as the situation develops. But every day, I'll reduce it by 1%.
You mean after 5 days I get nothing?
After 5 days, we'll both be dead.
That night passed, and much of the next morning, too. It's not easy to sleep, standing up, finger going.
Dead. Mason.
You can't stand there through today and perhaps tomorrow like that with a dead finger. It'll have to come off. One of us will have to... Well, you see, Mr. Fassberger.
All right. You'll have to use a small gold penknife.
It's blunt.
It's all we have.
Mr. Fassberger, I couldn't.
In that case, give me the penknife.
I can't let...
Mason, it's my blasted finger. If I want to cut it off, I'll blast it, will cut it off. Give me that knife.
Yeah.
I'm free. I can move around. I'm more than halfway towards solving the entire problem.
Yes. Yes, indeed, you are.
It's only a matter of time, Mason. Only a matter of time.
On the 8th day, Mason died. Fassberger, when he could bring himself to move from the corner in which he lay, hour after hour, day after day, watched for a sign of human life through the quarter-inch gap, his one contact with the world. Fassberger's hunger and thirst became obsessive. His hand was swollen and festering from some obscure infection. His tongue cracked along its surface. The 9th day dawned, with monstrous dreams of food and drink. Yes, of course, Fassberger had thoughts of cannibalism. After all, nothing could hurt Mason anymore. But the millionaire dismissed the idea as soon as it entered his mind. Life, yes, but not on those terms. The 9th day passed. Fassberger, managing to mentally elbow thoughts of food and cool, clear water aside, pondered for a few lone seconds on the absence of any will. And then big pictures of venison and wine crowded back, and Fassberger, aware of little except late evening filtered sunlight, like a rod through the quarter-inch crack in the shutters, prepared to die. And then, suddenly...
Hello? Hello in there?
Just
You all right?
like that. Lifeboat at sea, arrival of the cavalry. Nick of time, miracle, save. Life and limb hanging by single thread. Just like that.
Will you have another sherry, Mr. Fassberger?
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
I'm so glad I decided on a private funeral. Poor Harold would have hated the relations to have been there, especially his mother. He never got on with his mother. Isn't that strange? Mother and son. And yet with Harold, how well.
Thank you. I would like to give you something, Mrs. Mason. Your late husband and I entered into an agreement. It concerns a sum of money. 200,000 pounds, to be precise. Oh, I have decided to sell the electronic house, Mabel.
Have you, Julius?
Yes. I have acquired a new sense of values. I sought security only to find insecurity and danger. My plans didn't really work.
Life is not an investment, Julius. You can't really live in terms of profit and loss. In the long run, life is people just like you and me.
Yes, quite. So I shall sell it.
Don't think me a ghoul, but may I see it? The house, I mean, before you...
Oh, I don't think I could...
Just one small visit, a short one. I feel maybe Please.
Very well. The lawyers were prompt and thorough. The money, everything is satisfactory.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Julius.
That's about all there is to it. Of course, I don't expect the lady to fully grasp the intricacies of...
Oh, but I do. I understand perfectly. It really is a work of art.
But it has painful memories for you, so I
Yes,
think...
of course. Oh, Julius, I forgot. I want you to have this. Please don't open it now. Later.
Hmm? Thank you. What is...
Later. When you're alone.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, I'll just close the shutters. You know, despite what happened here, despite the fact... Mabel? Let's go now. Mabel, where are you? I think we'll leave now. One has enjoyed the usefulness of two hands for more than 40 years. Getting familiar with one hand. What? Mabel! Mabel, where are you? Mabel! Hello, Mabel, please, what's the meaning of this? It's idiocy! You locked me in, why? Calm, Fassberger. It's an accident. Something's wrong, that's all. That explosion. What's she done to the current? It's blown, fused, everything. I'm shut in. Mabel! Why has she done this? How? That letter, the one she gave me.
When you read this, Mr. Fassberger, you will, if all goes well, be standing alone in your electronic monstrosity, the house which became my husband's tomb. Always supposing I have managed by the time you read this to seal you in the house and cut off the power. I shall return in perhaps 3 weeks. Oh, I have a strong stomach, believe me. I shall destroy the letter you are reading now. Wherever you decide to hide it as evidence, I shall find it. You see, I loved poor Harold, and I hold you responsible for his death. Therefore, I think it is only fair that you should share his fate. And, after all, no one will miss you, will they? Thank you for the £200,000. Goodbye. Mabel Mason.
No. No.
Beyond Midnight is presented every Friday night at 9:30 by Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder. The program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe.